respiration is a set of metabolic reactions and processes that take place in the cells of organisms to convert biochemical energy from nutrients into ATP, and then release waste products. Glycolysis is the first act of cellular respiration. Two molecules of ATP are invested to energize and split glucose.
The two ATP molecules are now ADP because their phosphates have attached to the two 3-carbon molecules.
The energized molecules lose 2 electrons each, which are accepted by NAD positive, making 2 NADH carriers. The phosphates that were added are removed. This energy is used to make 4 ATPs. These reactions produce 2 3-carbon molecules, also known as pyruvates. Contestant number 1. What is the process of glycolysis also known as? Next question. How many ATPs and NADHs are made during this process?
The Krebs cycle is an aerobic respiration, meaning it requires oxygen. The Krebs cycle harnesses the remaining chemical energy from the 2 pyruvates produced in glycolysis to make the electron carriers NADH and FADH2, along with ATP. 1 pyruvate passes through the outer membrane of the mitochondrion and into the outer compartment, then passes through the inner membrane. While passing through the inner membrane, 1 pyruvate loses a carbon atom, which is accepted by O2, forming CO2. The pyruvate continues and passes into the mitochondrion matrix. Electrons are transferred from the carbon atoms to NAD positive, forming 2 NADH carriers. Coenzyme A attaches to the 2-carbon molecule. Acetyl-CoA joins the Krebs cycle. The carbon portion joins a 4-carbon molecule, making a 6-carbon molecule called citric acid. A carbon molecule exits the cycle and joins 2 oxygen atoms, making CO2. CO2 exits your body when you exhale. The 5-carbon molecule continues in the Krebs cycle. Again, electrons are transferred to NAD positive and FAD, making 3 NADH and 1 FADH2. The cycle continues, however this time one carbon leaves and joins oxygen, forming CO2. A 4-carbon compound is left. 1 ADP gets recharged, forming ATP. The cycle repeats for the second pyruvate.
Contestant number 2. Your first question is, before the Krebs cycle begins, what occurs that produces a product of cellular respiration?
Carbon and potassium oxide into carbon dioxide.
Next question. What 6-carbon molecule is formed during the Krebs cycle? The electron transport chain, also known as the ATP maker, is the most complex and productive pathway of cellular respiration, which means it makes the most ATP. The electron transport chain is embedded in the inner membrane of the mitochondria, also known as the cristae. NADH and FADH2 stay in the matrix of the mitochondrion. NADH and FADH2 transfer their high energized electrons to the first ion pump in the electron transport chain. When doing this, they then transform to NAD positive and FAD. The energy from the electrons are used to pump the hydrogens across the membrane and into the outer compartment. The electrons are then passed to the second protein of the chain and then to the second ion pump. The second ion pump uses more electron energy to pump 2 more hydrogen ions across the membrane and into the outer compartment. The electrons are then transferred to the 4th protein and then to the last ion pump. The electrons use a little bit more of its energy to pump 2 more hydrogen ions across it and into the outer compartment.
The 2 low in energy electrons are accepted by the 2 hydrogen ions. The 2 hydrogen ions combine with 1 oxygen atom, creating H2O. The excess oxygen atoms exit your body when you exhale.
FADH2 transfers electrons to the second ion pump in the electron transport chain. This forms FAD. Hydrogen ions are pumped through the protein to the outer compartment.
Hydrogen ions concentrated in the outer compartment are a form of potential energy.
Hydrogen ions diffuse through the ATP synthase. And then into the matrix. The energy absorbed through the ATP synthase is now used to turn ADP into ATP. This cycle continues and it makes large amounts of ATP. Contestant number 3. This is a fill-in-the-blank question. What happens to the electrons in the electron transport chain?
They're passed through carrier proteins or ion pumps that cause a reaction with the hydrogen ions.
Next question. What is the product after the ATP synthase diffuses hydrogen ions to the matrix?